It's mid-September, the dog days of summer are past, and the weather has finally cooled off just a little bit. It's much more comfortable to be out in the garden. And this is a great time of year to divide some of your hardier perennials like hostas and daylilies. So let's get to digging. So this hosta, as much as I like it, has actually grown so large now that it's taking over a pretty good bit of the path by the end of the summer. So I thought today I would show you how to dig and divide a big hosta like this one, which we can get 2 or 3 plants out of probably. And all you really have to do is get it out of the ground, and we're going to divide it actually with this shovel, but I'm going to show you how to find a spot here where there's sort of a natural break in the plant. And inevitably we will probably lose a few eyes here and there, but you can kind of dig through here. We'll lose a few leaves and see where there's sort of a natural break between different pieces of the clump. And really all you're going to do is, once you've gotten your shovel situated in there, is give it a good cut, and you'll have to do this 2 or 3 times. You'll see that I didn't choose to cut the foliage back before I did this, because I actually want to leave at least some of the foliage intact. Okay, so we divided the plant in half first to make it a little more easy to move, and now I have divided it in half again. So I've actually gotten 4 plants out of 1. This is a hosta called Gold Standard. It's an older variety, but very vigorous and has performed extremely well in the garden, which is why it's gotten so large that I've had to divide it now. So these could go straight into the garden just the way they are. Just plant them back to the same dirt level that they were in the ground before. All of these cut marks will heal and actually form new buds underground, and next spring they'll come back up just like they were. I don't have a place quite ready yet for these in the garden, so I'm going to pot them. Now, I use a potting mix. I kind of blend my own. I buy several things and blend it together for a couple of reasons. This is Pro Mix, which you can buy in big 3.5 or 3.8 cubic foot bales at your garden centers. But Pro Mix, number one, is kind of expensive, and number two, tends to stay wetter than I really like for a potting mix to stay. So what I do is take my Pro Mix and I blend it at about 50-50 by volume with soil conditioner or pine fines. So this is very coarse and very gritty, and that opens the other potting mix up just a little bit more. It makes it drain better, and especially in the winter, if I'm overwintering things in pots outdoors, drainage is really essential. You don't want the bottom of the 2 or 3 inches of the pot to sit and just be constantly wet. Now the other thing that I have here is a little bit of fertilizer. This is an organic fertilizer. It's a dry granule, and the nutrient content is fairly low. It's a 357, so only 3% nitrogen. We don't want to force anything to really grow this time of year, but I do want to feed the roots as they're getting reestablished. So I blend these 3 things together, about 50-50 on the potting mix and the pine fines, and then in a tub this size, which is about a 10 or 12 gallon nursery container, I put about 2 cups of the fertilizer in, and I blend it all thoroughly with a shovel from top to bottom and make sure that it's really well stirred. So all we have to do now is fill our pot about 1/3 full. We'll take our hosta division, might be a little much there, place it down in the pot. It may not be perfectly centered, but that's okay for what I'm doing here. And you'll notice that I actually have it setting a little bit deep down in the pot. As I fill in around this, I want to make sure that everywhere I cut is covered, because as this hosta settles back into its new home, into this pot, and begins to root out, I want that crown to be protected from the elements. It's also important since this hosta may overwinter in a pot outdoors, that crown be covered so that we don't incur freeze damage during the winter months. So all I'm going to do, it's not going to be perfectly straight up and down. That's okay, because all of this foliage, as soon as we have a frost, is going to be gone anyway. So as easy as it is to divide hostas, it's also just as easy to do daylilies. This is a large clump that is in an area that I'm getting ready to redo. So I need to move these plants out of the way. And basically, all you have to do, just like with the hosta, is get this out of the ground. And I wouldn't have to divide this plant. It is a large plant, but it's a variety that I like, and it's one that I wouldn't mind having more of. So this is an opportunity for me to make more plants out of this one. And but it could go back in the ground just like this and just be allowed to be a big, mature clump of daylilies. So we're doing the same thing, looking for sort of a natural division within the plant. We're just going to keep pushing on the shovel until it goes through. May need a little help from a foot. But you're basically just going to divide like that. One plant quickly becomes two. And then if you want to go even further, on this one I don't think I will. I have two nice sized divisions here, but if you wanted to go further, you actually could just come right through here with the shovel again and divide this into quarters, and you'd actually end up with 4 plants. So if you're looking for some things to do in the garden on one of these nice fall days, dividing and transplanting of some of your toughest perennials like hostas, daylilies, peonies, iris, all of those old garden stalwarts, they can all be dug and divided this time of year with no ill effects. And in fact, getting them reestablished in the fall often is better than trying to do your division and your transplanting in the spring when they're getting ready to try to grow early. So you can make many out of one and fill your garden with beautiful things.